All right, folks, it's channel input survey response time. 296 of you responded to the survey, so thank you very much for your input. We're going to go through all these questions and talk about the results and what it means for the future of the channel. First up, are you subscribed? 296 responses, 97% said yes. If you're not subscribed but you decided to take the channel survey anyway, let me know why. Very interested. How do you typically watch videos on YouTube? 45.6% of you said on a computer, 34.5% said on your mobile phone, 14.5% said on your smart TV, and 5.4% said on your tablet. The reason I ask this is because it helps me make decisions on-screen display elements if I ever have to put text or graphics on, because people watching on mobile phones are really going to have a hard time reading tiny text. Whereas someone on, say, a smart TV or a computer is probably not going to have as much of an issue with that. This next question goes kind of hand in hand with that, and that is talking about display resolution. Most popular is 1080p, 32.4%. Next, most popular is 4K at 27%. And then after that is 2K, or similar resolutions, 1440p. The monitor I'm using to record and edit this video is a 2K monitor. 17.2% of you said, I don't know. That's fine. It doesn't matter unless this is something you care about, so that's okay. But again, the reason I asked this question is kind of going hand in hand with the previous one to know how big I generally should try to make on-screen text or graphics so that people can read it more clearly. And to inform when I make camera upgrades in the future, if I should try to get a super crazy high-res something, if enough people would appreciate that, or if 4K is fine. The camera I currently have, Sony a7 III, shoots in 4K at 30 frames per second. And considering that over 25% of you do have a 4K display that you're watching these on, that tells me that it's worth continuing to make 4K videos because a lot of you can enjoy them. Next question is asking about age brackets. And the reason I ask this is because while YouTube gives me this information, asking you on the survey also helps me contextualize your responses, because I can support by individuals or summaries or whatever. I'm showing the summaries in this video, but I have looked at a bunch of these separately. And it also lets me know, compared to the viewership of the videos, which age groups are tending to take the survey versus not engage with that, compared to the analytics that I have access to on the YouTube dashboard. But the two most popular age groups, what I expected, between 18 and 24, and then 25 to 34, which is the group that I'm currently in. Next question is asking, where are you from? 56.8% said the United States, 8.8% said the UK, and then Canada, Germany, and Australia, and the Netherlands rounding out the most popular responses. And then these are all real small, hard for me to mouse over and have them show up accurately, so I will scroll through these other two pages. If you are from blank, let me know what country that was supposed to be. And then we have our third page of responses here. And now we're going to move into the model railroading section. I asked this to weed out the people who don't have any interest in model railroading from have to take, a whole bunch of questions that they weren't going to have any answers for. So if you hit no on this, then you skipped this next question we're about to evaluate. If you hit yes, then you answered these questions we're about to take a look at. First up here, asking about scales you model, collect, or otherwise enjoy. No surprise here, the most popular were HO scale and N scale, which is both of those I have equipment and currently don't have an HO scale layout, but will hopefully be working on building one soon. 70.3% of you also said HO, 55.7% said N. O scale 24.5%, and then double O scale, our friends over in the UK and other parts of Europe who utilize that, at 15.6%. Now the 7.1% of you who said T scale, not TT scale, T scale, the really tiny ones. Do you actually own any models in T scale, or are you just interested in the idea of really tiny trains? Let me know. I've never actually seen any T-scale stuff. I see you large scale folks, G-scale, FN3, and others. I do have a very small amount of that stuff, mostly just ends up running around the Christmas tree, but I would like at some point to maybe have a garden railway. We'll see what happens. This next question is asking about eras of railroading, and I know there's a bunch of different ways to divide this up around the world, but in the US hobby, these are not universally accepted era divisions, but they're pretty popular, so that's what I chose. Most popular, not really a surprise, transition era, where we have diesels and steam locomotives running around the same area, around the same time, 61.8% of you. Next most popular is modern era, 1992 today, at 57.5%. After that, 55.2% of you said second generation diesels, so that would have been after steam locomotives were completely gone, but before stuff like, say, ditch lights and the like. After that, the Golden Era, which would be your streamlined passenger trains and the big steam locomotives before the diesels came on the scene. Followed by Pioneer Era, which would be like American West, a little bit of that Civil War era type stuff. I know there was at least one person who mentioned something about that in the comments. And then the 21 of you who responded early railroading, pre-1860, so like early steam and stuff like that. I don't ever really see very many people talk about this, so I'm very interested to know what your involvement in that is. If you have any specific models you collect, like the very, very early prototype steam locomotives or anything like that, let me know. The next question is road names. I really should have made this a list of maybe the 50 most common and then an other setting people to take, because I got 212 different responses. And these are all mixed in here. I obviously can't read all of these out because there's 212 different responses. Next question is talking about who among the following brands makes your favorite model railroad products. And I listed a couple dozen brands and left a free response segment. The most popular brands, as you'll see here, we have 83 of you said Kato, 39.2%, and then Walthers, 31.6%. No surprise there. Along with Atlas, making 32.5% of respondents there. Three of the most popular brands in the hobby. Other heavy hitters here that don't have labels: Athearn, Bachmann. Come down here to this one, which is Woodland Scenics. They make all the scenery stuff. And then some other very good, very popular brands here. Again, I wish it would show all of these. I don't know why it doesn't label everything. Broadway Limited, ESU, they make decoders, specifically sound decoders, very popular. Hornby over in the UK, KD, who makes couplers and trucks and other parts all in the US, LGB, large scale stuff, Markland, who makes, a German manufacturer that makes stuff over there, Micro Trains, primarily in scale, some Z scale stuff as well, MTH, mostly O scale stuff, Nock, who makes scenery, another scenery company from Germany, Soundtracks, makes sound decoders, Tomix, a Japanese manufacturer. And then we get down here, and there's all these free response things. Three folks mentioned Scale Trains. This other uncapitalized Scale Trains, they're pretty popular. I didn't put them on the list because I don't own any of those. Tyco and Lifelike, one person collecting those. And some other things that you'll see here. A lot of them that I weren't really familiar with. And then you'll see different spellings of different things that I hadn't included because it just separates that regardless of how you put it in. It was neat to see someone say Tracksetta, because among other things, they make guides for bending flex track to specific radiuses, and I've got a couple of those. That was nice to see. And then someone mentioned Lego L-Scale. Not necessarily a hugely popular thing in the American mainstream hobby, but it's starting to gain more steam. I guess pun intended. I've got Lego train stuff somewhere in the basement. I've got to dig it out. But I think it's really neat to see what people are doing with the Lego stuff now. Back when I was in it, it was mostly the 9-volt live rail stuff. I think now it's battery-operated dead rail. I haven't really looked into it too much. But people are making some really interesting, intricate models with it. It's really cool to see. Next question was asking about where you buy your model railroad products. And this is a multi-select thing. You can pick whichever ones you use. 75% of you said local independent hobby shop, either in person or online. That's good. We need local independent hobby shops. You really, if you can at all afford to do it, you really need to support those places. They're the backbone of the hobby. And I don't just say that because I'm trying to sell stuff as an independent hobby shop online. It's legitimately, if you have a place in your community, even if they're a little bit more expensive, please do try and support them. 55.7% of you said specialty online retailers like Train World, Model Train Stuff, and some others. Again, great places to get stuff, and those folks are all their family businesses, and they do a lot of good work. eBay, 45.3%. I bought tons of stuff off of eBay, but it's really hit or miss. I've had some stuff come in packaged about as poorly as you can imagine from eBay sellers. So it is, unfortunately, a little bit of buyer beware kind of situation there. You can find some good stuff, but some folks just really have no idea how to ship products. You got to be really careful. And now we're going to move into channel and video feedback. First question I asked in that regard was how you feel about the current video release schedule, which is floating between weekly and bi-weekly videos. And nobody said too many videos, which is good because I don't know how you could have too many videos if I'm only doing between 1 and 2 a month. But 82.1% of you said it's just right, and 17.9% of you said you'd like to see more. And I'd like to make more, but I have to find time. I asked how you feel about current video length. 77.4% of you said it's about right, and 22.6% of you said it's too short. Nobody said it was too long, which is good because the videos are usually only between 5 and 10 minutes. I don't know how much shorter I could make those. But I would like to start making some longer videos again as I have time. The next couple of questions are asking about the specific types of videos that I've made. First one was, did you enjoy the mystery box videos? We did 2 Walther's mystery boxes at the very beginning of the channel, and I recently put out a Rapido mystery box video. 79.7% of you said you enjoyed them, 14.2% said you didn't watch them, and then a handful of you said you didn't like them, 6.1%. If you didn't like them, if you wouldn't mind, let me know why. Is it just a thing you don't like the mystery box videos, or you didn't like how I produced it, or anything like that? Would appreciate that feedback as well. Next question was asking about the in-scale layout videos, which if somehow you don't know what those are, I rescued the in-scale display layout from my childhood hobby shop before it closed down. And I've been slowly working on rehabilitating and improving it. 97% of you said you liked it, which is great to hear. And then a very, very small portion of you said you either did not watch them, and then one person said he didn't like it. So again, if you didn't like it, let me know why. I'd love to improve it. Last question in that section was, did you enjoy the hobby shop videos? 91.9% of you said yes, 5.7% of you said you didn't watch them, and 7 of you, 2.4%, said no. And building off of that, in the future videos section, would you like to see future hobby shop videos on this channel or on a separate channel? 91.9% of you said you'd like to see it right here. 8.1% said make a separate channel and focus on the other stuff on this one. I probably will make a separate channel for the hobby shop business, but I'm not going to move all the stuff over there. I just feel like there should be a separate presence for that regardless. But knowing that 91.9% of you who took the survey like to see that stuff, I will happily keep a limited amount of that on here. I don't want to flood everybody and spam you with it, but good to know you do still want to see that. Next, I asked about what types of model railroad content you'd be interested in seeing. 91.9% of you said you want to see more videos on the hobby shop layout, which I guess does make sense considering the responses here are also 91.9%. And then 87.8% of you said you'd like to see a different new layout project start to finish. I've got some ideas. We will see. Those take a lot of time and they take a lot of money. But I would very much like to make start to finish video coverage on something like that. 76.4% of you said you'd like to see locomotive repairs and upgrades. I do have some that need fixing, and I would like to make videos on those, assuming I can produce it in a way that makes sense. 62.8% of you said you'd want to see kit building videos. 53.7% said product unboxing videos. And then there were a bunch of different responses. I don't have time to read all of these out right now, but I have taken note of them. Next, I asked about real-world train content. And 75.7% of you said you'd like to see history content, which is something that I think would be a really fun thing for me to do, but it does take a lot of time to do research and get historical images that are rights cleared that I can actually put in a quote-unquote commercial YouTube video. So we'll see how that goes, but I definitely would like to make stuff like that. 49.3% said trip videos would be fun, and I do have a lot of ideas for the next couple of years if I can manage to afford to do traveling to take you guys with me and ride some trains in the US and to Canada, Japan, places like that I've already got some recommendations, some leads on things, and a couple of you guys in the free response made some suggestions as well, which we'll talk about. 33.1% you'd like to see run-bys or railfan style content. I don't have a lot of opportunities right where I'm at to check those out, but that's something that maybe could be done in conjunction with trip videos, or if I'm just out and about taking care of other things outside of YouTube and I happen to catch something that could be just a neat thing to throw up as a short. 14.5% of you said you're not interested in real world content, and then a couple of free responses that I won't read out here, but I have taken note of. And now in terms of suggestions, I'll just go through a couple of these real quick for the history content suggestions. Talking about history of train kits and stuff, that would be a fun thing to explore, but might take a little bit of time to research. We'll see what I can do. Talking about abandoned rail lines and what they were like in their heyday and why they closed down. There's a lot of places in the US especially with abandoned short lines or abandoned industry and stuff that could be interesting subjects for that. This person says everyone seems to focus on disasters. Personally, they'd like to see more successes, breakthroughs in technology, other cool stuff like that. And this one I thought was an interesting way to kind of tie everything together, talking about making small displays for each period in history to show development and kind of integrate modeling and history and video making all into one thing. That's a cool idea. I don't know the feasibility of making a bunch of individual things just for a single video that I wouldn't also use later on in an actual layout, but we'll see what happens. I saw Mammoth Springs, Arkansas show up a couple times in here, so I don't know if it's just the same person saying it a lot or if there's multiple of you who knows something I don't about Mammoth Springs, Arkansas, but I guess I'm going to have to go check that out at some point. This person suggests for history content, real railways and how they relate to and influence model railways, especially in odd anachronisms like how models from Japan and Brazil are often wildly out of scale, or just generally how different prototypes versus models can be. So I'm, again, not going to turn this into a huge tangent, but most of Japan's railways are actually what we would consider narrow gauge. And there's different historical reasons for it. The only standard gauge, what we would call standard gauge in Japan, for the most part, is the Shinkansens, they're high-speed trains, but everything else is in narrow gauge, which is why Japanese in scale is 1/150th instead of 1/160th. Because at 1/150th, the trains are a little bit bigger, and on the 9mm scale gauge for the end scale track, the models look a little bit more appropriate versus 1/160th for narrow gauge running. This person would love to see some model trains for lumber rails, and yes, logging is a really, really cool industry to depict in model railroading, and there's so much cool stuff you can do with it. This person would like to see stuff about operations and industry and how that can lead to some of the really weird motive power. That would be a fun thing. Bullet trains. Oh, yes. If I ever manage to make it over to Japan, I'd love to get some footage of those and talk about the evolution of high-speed rail, both there and across the world. There's some really interesting history with that. And here's someone else suggesting to tie in history with models and have different things relating to that. Appreciate that suggestion. Too many videos are just repeating Wikipedia articles. Find topics that are unique and only covered in books. Yeah, there's a whole lot of Wikipedia regurgitation on YouTube. I like researching. I went to school for it. And if I'm going to make stuff that's actually historical content, I'm going to go find something neat that people haven't done, which could also, be the kiss of death from me making this kind of content, because then it's going to take me 8 years to come up with anything that I'm actually happy with. But I'd like to do something cool. Next, I asked if you have any suggestions for locations, routes, or specific trains you'd like to see in trip videos. Have people suggesting acellas, museums, heritage railways. Comparing kits to existing examples in real life is a really neat idea I hadn't considered. Got some Thomas the Tank Engine stuff. And there is, in Britain, there are some active heritage railways that do have some of the models running that were direct inspirations for the characters in that series. That would be kind of neat to go see. Here's another plug for Mammoth Springs, Arkansas. I think I'm going to have to go out there at some point. Don't know when, but it sounds really interesting based on what you're suggesting. Galaxy Express 999. Now, if you've never heard of this, it's an anime from 1979. I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's good, and I've had multiple people recommend it to me. Might be kind of a neat thing, although I don't think this has anything to do with actual real-life history. I don't know how to do a trip video on it, but just in general, I think it's probably a good recommendation. I'll have to check it out. This person says, come to Switzerland. We have a lot to show you. Travel's expensive, but I'd like to at some point. Next question, I was asking about railfan content. And it seems a lot of you kind of didn't know what it was, or either just really don't care for it, so I guess that's fine. But I did receive a couple of suggestions there that I might take into account if I decide to do any of that stuff. Now the next question is suggestions for content besides what I've listed above. And there's a lot of good stuff here. Again, I don't have time for the video length that I try to keep these things to go through everything, but I have read all of them, and I do want to talk about just a few. This person's talking about ultra-realism, doing stuff like weathering, extreme detailing for locomotives, and different projects like that. That's not something I've ever really tried to do, so it could be a fun thing to learn alongside the process of doing videos for it, maybe as a learn with me type of thing. But we'll see what happens. Here's someone asking for railroad-related video games. There's a couple of those. And I don't know that I would ever really put video game stuff up on this channel. I do have another channel, my quote-unquote main channel currently, where I do play game-related things that maybe that might be a good fit for, but I do appreciate the suggestion there. Here's a request for a long-term project to keep personal interaction and interest with the channel up. I do want to do long-term projects. I do also have to be judicious with my time and money that I'm investing into this to try and make it sustainable, but I am very interested in making long-term stuff. I will not be doing 70% more nudity, thank you. 10-hour-long ASMR of train layout footage. So I know that was a joke with the 10-hour ASMR thing, but I do like the idea of just having some relaxed footage of trains running through layouts or different things, dioramas or whatever that I'm creating. Maybe not 10 hours though. Scratch building stuff, yeah, absolutely. I just have to be able to find the time to do it, but I've got a couple of ideas that would be kind of neat to do. More HO content would be great, like an HO layout build. Oh boy, do I have something hopefully in 2026. I got most of a basement I'm trying to fill with the layout, but I got a lot of planning to do for that. I'm really hoping I can make that happen. This person says they're really interested in the hobby shop videos because they run a small repair business in Boise, Idaho, and they work at a single model train shop in a very wide radius. Yes, I would love to make more videos about hobby shop stuff. It's going to depend on the level of support and engagement that gets, and if it ends up being a sustainable business. It's still very, very early on, and I don't want to commit to anything that I can't fulfill later on, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try to make it work. And here's someone asking for more review style stuff, longer term analysis of different models and products based on use over the coming months and years. I think it would be kind of fun. Trains in popular media would be a fun one as well, because there's a whole lot of representation of model railroading and real railroading and all that other stuff that isn't very accurate or very good, to be perfectly honest with you. But when it does show up and it's accurate, it's great. So I don't know, maybe that would be a fun thing to do. This person says, please do not upload videos that only contain running trains on the layout. There's too much of them. And what I'll say to that is I really like seeing stuff like that, but I understand where you're coming from. And for that reason, and for other reasons, I think it's important for me to try to integrate into any of these videos a little bit of everything in terms of whatever the main subject is, like for this one, the survey. And then at the end, put a little bit of footage of trains running, because, you know, everybody likes to watch it, but not everybody likes to watch it exclusively. Locomotive teardowns and repairs, again, not something that I'm really experienced with, and I don't want to lead people the wrong direction by doing something wrong on video or giving bad advice. So if I'm going to do something like that, I need to make sure I actually understand it first, because the last thing I want to do is cause someone to break really expensive locomotive or something, or their tools, or cause damage to something else because I gave them bad advice. The last section was free response. There were 47 of you who put something in here. And while I cannot read or show all of them on this video, please know that I have read all of them in my own private time, and I've taken notes. I appreciate all of your submissions. I'm going to talk about just a few of them here. This person says they really enjoy the small, cozy feeling. Feel it would help to at least keep that to some degree. Feel the older YouTube content of just talking about a passion or single thing without it becoming overly complex or big thing is a big draw toward the channel. Building new track elements, painting them in a talk to audience style would be, in their opinion, really soothing. Sometimes less is more. I agree 100,000%. That is what I would like this channel to be. That's what my other channel where I play video games is. It's just really simple stuff, not overproduced, just an honest dialogue between you and me as we're looking at whatever I'm talking about. I very much appreciate that, and I'm glad you agree. Try Transport Tycoon on hard settings. On the video game channel, I probably will. On this one, probably not. This person says, love that you're doing a survey on all of this, but also let me say, don't overanalyze at the expense of what you care most about. What keeps people around, in my experience, is the passion of the host, so always make sure that you really care about what's in the video. I agree, but I also really care about what you guys want to see. I'm not going to make something I don't want to make just because somebody wants to see it, but for me personally, this is about finding the overlap between what I like and what other people like, and meeting somewhere in the middle where everybody enjoys something. This person says, please fix the ending screen for the videos. There's nothing wrong with the end screen for the videos. It's a specific paint scheme from a specific Amtrak locomotive where the stripes don't go all the way to the top. That's why that's the way it is. And here's a picture of it so you can see what I'm talking about. This person says, just want to say thank you for everything you've been doing. 2025 hasn't been a great year for me, but taking a 5-minute break to hear a guy and see a layout saved from a dumpster has honestly put me in a great mood. I'm glad it helped you out. That's the reason why I do this. Because, you know, people need a little bit of a pick-me-up every now and then. This person says, would go all in on the Beard Railway channel and cut the current main channel. More than half your current video views on Beard Railway have more than most of the main channel views combined. Just a suggestion in order to better utilize your time. So let's talk about this, because on YouTube, in terms of quote unquote the business perspective, different types of videos get different pay per view. Here's the thing about that. A video on my quote unquote main channel usually takes me about 3 hours start to finish, and a video on this channel usually takes me between 8 and 10 hours start to finish. And the runtime on the videos on this channel is usually between 5 and 20 minutes. And there's enough that goes into it, and I have to actually write scripts for these, except this one that I'm ad-libbing as I read off a survey. But it takes a really, really long time to make these videos. And YouTube also pays only about 20% of what the gaming videos pay out for these videos. So from an economic perspective, it really does not make sense to stop doing that to focus on this, because the amount of time that I'm putting into both of these channels is equivalent to a full 40-hour work week at a quote-unquote real job. So I understand where you're coming from with this, but that's not feasible. All right. I know I couldn't get to all of these responses and read every single one of them off in the video. It would just be way too long, but I have read all of them and I've taken down some notes on what you guys have suggested, your feedback and all of the encouragement and everything. I really appreciate it. So thank you very much for your responses. Let's talk about what's going to happen in 2026. Of course, we're going to continue the in-scale layout rehab videos. I've got a couple of big things planned for that. I've got to just make sure that I've got a couple of days free completely so I can tackle those. And that's kind of hard to manage time-wise. But hopefully I can do that within the first couple of months of 2026. I've got a couple of ideas for trip things planned out, but of course those do take a lot of money to make happen, and I'm not in a position right now where I can do that. If I can make it happen, I'll absolutely let you guys know, and of course I'll take videos anywhere I go. I see something that might be kind of interesting, but I would like to do at least one in 2026. We'll see what happens. But I've got plenty of stuff to talk about with the hobby shop and all of the other fun things I've got coming with that. I've got a couple of ideas, both suggestions from the survey and things that I've been thinking about for model railroading content, some real world history stuff, and other fun things like that. I do want to start on my HO scale layout at some point this year, but there's a lot of work that has to happen in the background for that to be viable. And of course, there's the in-scale layout stuff and all those different projects that some I've discussed, some I haven't. But I think we can make a lot of interesting content with it, and maybe some other things too. I don't want to commit to anything just yet, but I've got some pretty fun ideas. Recreate different real-world locations, maybe for dioramas or something like that. It's just going to depend on what kind of time and other resources I can pull together. But I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to submit the surveys, and I'm very thankful for your support. I look forward to seeing you again in 2026 with some fun new ideas. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.